Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. I would like to start the session with a nice quote. What is today's quote? Don't focus on pain, focus on progress. While preparing for competitive exams, you spend a lot of time, you work very hard, and sometimes it could be painful. That time you have to recollect or think of this quote. Don't focus on pain, focus on progress. So when you spend a lot of time while preparing for competitive exams, obviously every day, though there is pain, every day there's progress, you get enriched. So once you focus on the progress, you don't feel the pain. A very useful quote while preparing for competitive exams. And coming to today's editorial, it is all about remission without reform. In a nutshell, it talks about, or it is about, releasing convicts before reform. And besides the editorial analysis, from which you're going to learn grammar, comprehension skill, vocabulary, effective English, and develop contextual awareness, today you're going to work on practice questions based on exam topics. You're going to work on spot the errors, phrases, scrambled sentences, and also idioms. Let us go to editorial vocabulary. A lot of new words are there. You got to listen very carefully. The first one, remission, we have got for the first time. I'm sure you guys know the word remit the money. That meaning is entirely different, and this meaning is completely a different meaning altogether. Remission, part of speech noun, the cancellation of a debt, charge, or penalty. In this context, the penalty or the charge or the punishment, cancellation of the punishment or debt or charge or penalty, remission. Discretion, I think we have got recently. Part of speech, noun, the quality of behaving or speaking in such a way as to avoid causing offense. You try to be very careful, you speak very carefully so as to avoid offense. That is known as discretion. One of the meanings. The other meaning, to have the freedom to take the decision on your own, on someone's discretion. That's a different meaning altogether. And here, convict as a verb, we say convict, and convict, here it is a noun. Convict, the pronunciation changes. What does it mean as a noun? Convict singular, convicts plural. A person found guilty of a criminal offense and serving a sentence of imprisonment. I always tell, whenever you come across words like acquit or convict, you have to think of four words. One is innocent. An innocent person is the one who has not committed crime, then that person will be acquitted. And guilty, a person who has committed crime, and that person is convicted. But as a noun, we say convict. Heinous crime, part of speech adjective, we have got a few times, but not in the recent past. Of a person or wrongful act, especially a crime. It goes with crime. In fact, the word combination or collocation, heinous crime, utterly odious or wicked, something very bad. Pogrom, program is different, pogrom is different. Part of speech noun, an act of organized cruel behavior or killing that is done to a large group of people because of their race or religion. Here, cruel behavior or killing. But if it is only killing people on the basis of community or race, then we use the word genocide. The word genocide is an important word. Genocide. Killing on a large scale people who belong to a particular race or a community. But here, pogrom, it's a different word. And defy, we have got many a time. Defy is a verb. It has two different meanings. One meaning, openly resist or refuse to obey. And the other one, appear to be challenging to do or prove something. Generally, I give the meaning, that's very good, genocide. Defy means to challenge someone, to oppose someone. Wave, verb, waver, noun. Usually it goes with the financial aspect, but in this context, it goes with the punishment. An official decision that a rule or agreement does not have to be obeyed. There's a rule, but you don't have to obey that rule. Then it is known as waiving off the rule. Usually, this goes with the field of education. And imagine someone has to pay a fee of $2,000, but the university says you don't have to pay 2,000. You can pay $1,000. That means $1,000 they waived off. As I said, it goes with the education field, but here the context is completely different. It goes with crime context. Mandatory, I'm sure you guys know the meaning of the word mandatory. A part of speech adjective, required by law or mandate, but generally we say mandatory, compulsory. Concurrence, concurrent has two different meanings. One meaning happening at the same time or occurring at the same time. But the second meaning, in this context, the second meaning, agreement or consistency, the fact of two or more events or circumstances happening or existing at the same time. So, this is in this context, it is a first meaning. What is it? Agreement. Rigor, singular, rigors, plural. Part of speech, noun. From this, you get the word rigorous. The quality of being extremely thorough or careful. Extremely thorough, rigor, rigorous. Contemporary, we have got many a time. Part of speech, adjective. It could be a noun as well. Living or occurring at the same time. He was my contemporary. He is my contemporary. Common examples. Perpetrator, though we have got for the first time an important word, part of speech noun, perpetrator singular, perpetrators plural. A person who carries out a harmful, illegal or immoral act. A person who commits crime in a simple way. Disquieting, an important word again, we have got for the first time part of speech adjective. Inducing feelings of anxiety or worry. Disquieting means something that troubles you or worries you. Commute, a different word altogether, but here it is commutation. Commutation, this is a different word. Commute means to travel long distance from one place to another place every day for work. Then we say commute, the act is called commute and the person is called commuter. But here, commutation, a different word altogether, part of speech noun, the action or process of commuting a judicial sentence. That means changing a judicial sentence in a way. Whimsy, we have got many a time based on someone's whims, one meaning, one word, one form. Whimsy, another form. And there's one idiomatic expression. What is that? Whims and fancies means a sudden wish or idea, especially one that cannot be reasonably explained. You do something based on spontaneously without thinking, and it is not based on reason, but it is based on emotion. Then we use three words, one whims, the other whimsy, and the idiomatic expression whims and fancies. Very important. Sovereign, India is defined as, if you take the preamble, there you come across India is a sovereign, secular, so many words are there. And sovereign, one of the meanings, part of speech adjective, India is a sovereign country, possessing supreme or ultimate power under no one's control. Then we say sovereign country. Clemency, we have got for the first time. It is used regularly in the US English or American English. Clemency means mercy. Here we use the word mercy, but Americans use the word clemency. Both mean the same. Part of speech noun. Temper as a noun already you have got recently someone's mood or attitude, whether angry or not angry. We use the word temper. But as a verb, it has a different meaning altogether. Here, it's a positive connotation. Act as a neutralizing or counterbalancing force to something. Temper something means to neutralize something. It has a positive connotation. Generally, the word temper has a negative connotation. Bad temper. We usually don't say good temper, we say bad temper. Elapse, part of speech verb you have got for the first time. It goes with time. Pass or go by. Time has elapsed, means past. Feted, again, we have got for the first time, and part of speech verb, it's a regular verb. Honor or entertain someone lavishly. Generally, the word lavish goes with spending money. You spend money lavishly or extravagantly. Then you have to recollect the word spendthrift. That also means spending money lavishly or extravagantly. But in this context, honor or entertain lavishly. To entertain someone or honor someone to a great extent, that's what it means. And conscience actually, no E sound, conscience, part of speech noun, a person's moral sense of right and wrong. Inside something tells you what is right, what is wrong, and that moral sense is known as conscience, viewed as acting as a guide to one's behavior. Prodigal also you can say. Prodigy, a positive word, prodigal, a negative word. That's good, Tapa. I appreciate that. Now let us go to the editorial. How does it start? Remission without reform. You cannot understand. First of all, you have to know the meaning of the word remission, the cancellation of a debt, charge, or penalty. But in this context, punishment or penalty. And you have to read the next sentence to understand what exactly it means. Premature, before maturity. Premature release of prisoners must be done with discretion and wisdom. Here, it is in passive voice. You must do something, active voice. Something must be done by you, passive voice. First, you have to recollect that grammar point of view. Must be done. You must do something. Something must be done by you. And then you have to recollect the function of the helping verb must. It has two different functions. One, it is used to express a personal obligation, or the obligation imposed by the speaker. We use the word must. The second meaning, a lot of students know, must conveys, it is used to convey the meaning that something is compulsory. So here it is more like a personal obligation, the writer's personal obligation. Premature release of prisoners must be done. When we decide to release prisoners prematurely, that must be done with discretion and wisdom. It should not be based on someone's whims or fancies. Discretion, an important word, it has got two or three meanings. As a noun, in this context, the quality of behaving or speaking in such a way as to avoid causing offense, being cautious, being careful. So, in this context, what does it mean? It must be done with discretion, carefully or cautiously, and also with wisdom. You have to think twice before doing something like that, and wisdom. So, this is the main idea of the editorial. Now, let us go to the stimulus. What exactly prompted the writer to come up with this editorial? The release of 11 convicts sentenced to life for the heinous murder of 7 people and the gang rape of 3 women during the Gujarat communal pogrom of 2002 is a questionable decision by the state. When you look at the main idea, obviously it must be done with discretion and wisdom. It is understood, it goes beyond without saying, it's quite obvious. They have done it without discretion and without wisdom. The entire editorial goes with the same tone. Based on that, the release of 11 convicts, convict noun, convict verb. What does it mean? A person who has been found guilty. Guilty means someone who has committed crime. And obviously, that person will be sentenced. The release of 11 convicts sentenced to life for the heinous murder. Heinous, an important word. Cruel, wicked, something very bad, crime. Murder, usually it goes with crime. In this context, murder, heinous murder of 7 people, one thing, and the gang rape of 3 women during the Gujarat communal pogrom, a different word altogether. What does it mean? An act of organized cruel behavior or killing that is done to a large group of people because of either wishes, also you can say, a race or religion. In this context, I suppose it is religion. So this sentence talks about releasing those, the main idea, the release of those convicts is definitely a questionable decision by the state. Then it provides what murder they committed, what crime they committed, and also when they committed. It talks about, the sentence talks about, throws light about that. 11 convicts released, that is one thing. And for what? Murder of 7 people and the gang rape of 3 women. When was it done? During the Gujarat communal program of 2002, way back in 2002, is a questionable decision by the state, something that cannot be justified. When then we use questionable, something is questionable. On the face of it means apparently, obviously. It's an important phrase, on the face of it. It also appears to be illegal. One thing, it is questionable. The other thing, it appears to be, it seems to be illegal. Why it seems to be illegal? As a term seem to have been remitted without the required consultation with the union government. They are supposed, the state government has taken the decision, and it is supposed to take the decision in consultation with the union government. Because the state government has not done that, it seems or appears to be illegal. One thing, the decision is questionable. The other thing, it seems or appears to be illegal because it has not taken the decision in consultation with the union government. It defies logic. There's another word you have to learn. Defy, it means challenge, openly resist or refuse to obey, or to challenge. It defies logic, it challenges logic. On what basis? It defies logic that those convicted for direct involvement in the rape of 3 women, the murder of a 3-year-old, and 6 others can be considered candidates for premature release under any remission policy. Under any remission policy, it cannot be justified releasing convicts prematurely. And what is a heinous murder or heinous crime? Raping 3 women, one thing, and also killing altogether 7 people and a 3-year old child. I'm sorry, a 3-year-old child among them, and 6 others, and definitely premature release under any remission policy. It cannot be justified. Based on that, the sentence says this particular act of releasing the convicts, 11 convicts, defies logic. It does not go with logic. It cannot be justified. One of the convicts had obtained an order from the Supreme Court in May, under which Gujarat, the state in which the crime occurred, was held to be the appropriate government to consider his premature release. Again, this sentence provides a background information. Of the 11 convicts, one of the convicts had obtained. This is an important phrase. Whenever we use a phrase, there are 3 rules you have to recollect, but in all the 3 rules, the noun should be in the plural form. Common error, a lot of people say one of the convict, not correct, one of the convicts. One of the convicts had obtained an order from the Supreme Court in May. What is that order? Under which Gujarat, this incident, killing people and raping 3 women, happened in the state of Gujarat, under which Gujarat, the state in which the crime occurred, was held to be the appropriate government. That means the Supreme Court, based on the Supreme Court's order, the state government, in this context, Gujarat state, had the power, appropriate government, to consider his premature release. They could take the decision. The court has asked the state to decide the application under its 1992 remission policy. Based on what the Supreme Court ordered the state government to take the decision related to premature release, the court had asked the state to decide the application under its 1992 remission policy, as it was a relevant one on the date of conviction in 2008. Incident happened in 2002, the date of conviction in 2008, and based on that, the remission policy, relevant remission policy, 1992 remission policy, based on that, the Supreme Court had asked the state to decide the application. However, it is difficult to treat this as a waiver of the requirement under Section 435 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, which makes consultation with the center mandatory. The editorial you have just seen, there's one word, that is illegal. On what basis it is illegal? Based on a particular section. Though the state government has a power, it is supposed to consult, it has to take the decision in consultation with the center, but that did not happen. However, this sentence talks about that. However, it is difficult to treat this as a waiver. You cannot say this is a waiver. It is nothing like, it is something like doing something not legally, it is something like illegal. However, it is difficult to treat this as a waiver. Waiver, an official decision that a rule or agreement does not have to be obeyed. There is a rule, you don't have to obey the rule, then we say it has been waived off of the requirement under section 435. Based on the section 435 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, they have to consult the center, which makes consultation with the center mandatory. Mandatory means what? Compulsory. Further, a constitution bench in 2015 held that consultation meant concurrence in this provision. One thing, they have to consult the center, and in this context, according to a particular bench, constitution bench in 2015, in this context, consultation means or meant concurrence. Then you have to know the meaning of the word concurrence. Concurrence means what? Agreement. One thing, they have to consult, and second, it has to be in agreement with the center. The remission also runs contrary to, an important expression. The remission also goes against, contrary to the spirit of contemporary thinking. There's one word over here, contemporary thinking. Contemporary means what? Living or occurring at the same time. One meaning. Another meaning, latest. Generally, we talk about when it comes to current affairs, we use expressions like burning topic, burning issues, contemporary issues happening at the same time, topics in the limelight. The remission also runs contrary to the spirit of contemporary thinking. What is contemporary thinking related to? On treating crimes against women and children, especially rape combined with murder, as so heinous that the perpetrators should not be considered for remission. So, in a way, yes. So, here it says the contemporary thinking. What is the contemporary thinking? Any crime against women and children, especially rape combined with murder, and if someone does it, we use the word perpetrator, they should not be considered for remission. In this context, they have been considered, but contemporary thinking is runs contrary to the spirit of contemporary thinking. It is not. Contemporary thinking says we cannot and we should not consider those people for remission. Perpetrators, an important word, a person who carries out a harmful, illegal, or immoral act. In a way, you can say those who commit crime, perpetrator. It is not clear if the committee that had recommended remission had considered the disquieting effect the release of these prisoners might have on the survivors and other members of the affected community. Here you got to be a little careful. Affect is a verb and effect is a noun. Here, disquieting effect. Disquieting, obviously, adjective. What does it mean? Inducing feelings of anxiety or worry. This sentence talks about whether the committee which recommended the remission, whether it had considered the impact or the disquieting effect or disquieting impact of the release of these convicts, the impact on those who got affected or the affected community. How do they feel? These people have committed a crime, heinous murder, and have been released. Obviously, it makes a negative impact or disquieting effect. You can also use the word impact. The release of these prisoners might have on the survivors, one thing on the survivors and other members of the affected community. A life sentence normally means that a convict has to spend a natural life in prison. That's what life sentence means. The CR.P.C, that means the Criminal Procedure Code, does permit premature release in the form of remission or commutation. Remission or commutation. Already they have been sentenced, and here life sentence. But the Criminal Procedure Code does permit, emphatic pattern, premature release in the form of remission or commutation. One important word, commutation, the action or process of commuting a judicial sentence, but it should be based on a legal and constitutional scheme and not on a ruler's whimsy. In this context, the state government. Whatever decision related to premature release of convicts should be legal and constitutional, and it should not be based on someone's whimsy. There's one important word, whimsy. A sudden wish or idea, especially one that cannot be reasonably explained. Something done on based on emotions, not based on reasoning. The power of remission has been conferred. Confer usually goes with awards, titles, to give the power. The power of remission has been conferred on the union and state governments apart from the sovereign power. Sovereign power means supreme power in this context, not controlled by anyone. Sovereign power of clemency, clemency, an important word, mercy, enjoyed by the president and governors. Here it talks about who has the power of remission. One, the power of remission has been conferred on the union government as well as the state governments. One thing. Besides, the sovereign power, ultimate power of clemency or mercy or remission is given to the president and the governors, enjoyed by the president and governors, so that it can be used to temper the law's rigors with an element of grace. There are two words you have to know. Why do these, the center or the union, the state government, the president, the governors, why do they have the power of remission? So that it can be used to temper. In this context, temper means to neutralize the law's rigors. Rigor means the quality of being extremely thorough and careful. To neutralize, if you don't understand, you have to watch 1 week or 10 days only, then you'll be able to. That is the only way. Perhaps you are a newcomer, so try to attend the sessions regularly, then you'll be able to follow. So that it can be used to temper the law's rigors with an element of grace. How does the editorial end? While the benefit of remission ought not to be denied to anyone, we have to consider the idea of remission and ought not to be denied. There is one helping verb, important helping verb, ought not, ought to be. There are two helping verbs, should, ought to. In the past, Old English, ought to, formal, should, informal. Now this has become outdated. Formal or informal, we use should. What does it mean? It is used to advise or suggest someone. While the benefit of remission ought not to be denied, everyone should have the right for remission. To anyone without a ray of hope, if they have that, they have the ray of hope that they will be free one day. It is a power to be exercised with discretion and wisdom. Same idea is being reiterated. It should not be based on someone's whims and fancies. It should be based on discretion and wisdom. Further, any decision on remission should be linked to the convict's expression of regret and some promise of reform. Before they take the decision, there should be some sort of signs in a way, convict's expression of regret. The convict has to regret and also show some promise of reform. There should be some positive change. It would be unjustified if given for political considerations. If this remission has been given based on or keeping in mind political considerations, then it cannot be justified. It would be unjustified if given for political considerations merely because of elapse of the minimum number of years they have to serve. Another important word, what does it mean? Pass or go by. Usually it goes with lapse, elapse, they go with time. With an assembly election due in Gujarat at the end of the year, it is difficult not to read the political significance into this decision. It means what? Now the elections are due. With an assembly election due in Gujarat at the end of the year, keeping this in mind, we cannot keep aside the political significance of this decision. That's what it means. The sight of the released convicts being greeted and feted on the release will not sit easy on the country's conscience. It ends on that particular note. What is that note? These 11 convicts, after coming out, they were received, whether they were greeted and feted. The sight of the released convicts being greeted and feted, one important word, honor or entertain lavishly, on their release will not sit easy on the country's conscience. Means it is difficult to accept because it is something that cannot be justified. That's all about the editorial. An important editorial, you may not get the same editorial but same article, but you may get an article related to a remission. That is an important concept, and that way it is an important one. Let us go to questions based on comprehension skill. Based on this editorial, what is this editorial about? What must be done with discretion and wisdom? This is the main idea of the editorial. Something has to be done based on discretion and wisdom, not based on whims and fancies. What defies logic in the context of the editorial? Keywords defy logic. What runs contrary to the spirit of contemporary thinking on treating crimes against women and children? Again, easy to write based on the keywords. What should be based on a legal and constitutional scheme and not on a ruler's whimsy? Again, the main idea of the editorial. Now let us go to practice questions based on exam topics. Today you're going to work on spot the errors, phrase replacement, and idioms, and also I think scrambled sentences. Let us go to the first one. One of the executives who work at the head office has confirmed the news. An easy one, not that difficult. You should be able to spot the error. One, reading. No need to read the second time. Should, ought to, same function, to advise or suggest to someone. Should has another function. It is used to express a possibility, but chances are less. Here, one of the executives, an important phrase, but the subject is only one, third person singular. Sentence is in present tense, affirmative form. Then you have to recollect the rule. If the subject is third person singular, sentence is in present tense, affirmative form, we should add s or es to the verb. Based on that, there's an error in the second part. One of the executives who works, work is not correct, who works at the head office has confirmed the news, present perfect. So, what is this question about? In a way, it is about subject verb agreement, one thing. It is also about present tense rule that goes with affirmative form, and the subject is third person singular. Question number two. It took myself 4 months to convince them to take this step. It took myself 4 months to convince them to take this step. Even this one, you don't have to read twice. One reading, you should be able to spot the error, an easy one. Usually, common error, a lot of people use reflexive pronouns and emphatic pronouns. Uh, they are not supposed to use, they use. Based on that, any expression that goes with either an emphatic or a reflexive pronoun, they go with common errors. Here, we don't have to use a reflexive or an emphatic pronoun. All that we have to do, we have to use a pronoun in the object form. It took me, and you have to recollect the rules. If you have to use, there are three rules that go with pronouns. First one, in this context, if you have to use a pronoun after an action verb or main verb or a preposition, then the pronoun should be in the object form. Here, the main verb or action verb took in the past. Based on that, it took me. We have to use. What is this question about? Pronoun object form. We have to use object form. It took me 4 months. Good, you guys got it right. Question number three. The new project is too big for the trainee to handle on his own. This is also an easy one, not that difficult to make out. The new project is too big for the trainee to handle. Here it is based on the pattern too difficult to do something, too big to handle. So based on that, it is not too, it is too, double O, an easy one. It is based on the pattern. Question number 4. The village has electricity today only because of the efforts of a few dedicated engineers. The village has electricity today only because of the efforts of a few dedicated engineers. Where is the error? Question number 3 over. Now you have to go to question number 4. Very good. Who is this? Don't do. The first one to respond, I really appreciate. There is no error whatsoever. Madhav also, very good. The village has electricity, present perfect. No, it is present tense, possessive form. The village has electricity today only because only it should come before whatever it talks about or refers to. Only because of the efforts of a few dedicated engineers. Perfect. I appreciate all those students who have responded, no error. That's wonderful. Question number 5. The club has lost, present perfect tense, a lot of business because of poor maintained facilities. It depends on the sentence pattern. It all depends on the sentence pattern. You want to talk about almost nothing or hardly anything, a negative connotation, use few. You want to convey the idea at least some, then you use a few. Based on the idea, you have to use few or a few. The club has lost a lot. The club has lost, no problem. A lot of business, no problem, because of poor maintained facilities. Is it poor or poorly? It is not poor. We have to use the adverb. What is the adverb here? Poorly. Poorly maintained. How have they been maintained, or how has it been maintained? Poorly maintained. We need to use the verb is maintained, ask a question how, then we get adverb of manner, adverb of manner, poorly. That's right. Poor maintenance, better poorly maintained. You can say poor maintenance also, but better expression poorly because of poorly maintained facilities. Let us go to phrase replacement. Depends. No, it depends. Don't you? A lot of work has to be done. We cannot use a plural form. A lot of students are interested. Plural form depends on the key word. A lot of work has to be done. Here, singular verb. A lot of students are interested. Here, plural verb. There is no hard and fast rule that you have to use a plural verb with the phrase a lot of. That is not correct. Medical treatment here is very expensive that they had to sell off their land to pay for it. Very expensive that. When you see the word that, you have to recollect immediately two expressions, so that and such that. So that goes with adjectives and adverbs. Here, expensive. Expensive is an adjective. That means we have to look for the word so. Very expensive, not correct. Quite expensive. Let us hold this one. Let us hold quite expensive, and they had to hold that one. Too expensive for, not correct. Here, so expensive, had they used that, it would have been correct. But you don't see the word that. More expensive, not correct. Based on that, what is the answer? Medical treatment here is quite expensive, and they, based on that, they had to sell off their land to pay for it. Answer is the first option. But do remember, whenever you see so or the word that, you have to think of so that. This goes with adjectives and adverbs, such that goes with nouns. You have to recollect. That is being smart, consolidating your knowledge. Question number 7. To be successful, it is important to know why your failure in the past and ensure that it does not happen again. A very useful sentence. To be successful, it is important to know why you are failure, grammatically not correct. To be successful, it is important to know why you failed or you had failed. Hold this one. Because not correct, that your failure not correct. Where you were failed, grammatically not correct. No, no, fourth option is not correct. Where you were failed, that is not correct. Where you were failed is not grammatically correct. Answer is the first option. I'm really surprised. A few students have chosen the fourth option. No, not at all. Answer is the first option. To be successful, it is important to know why you had failed in the past and ensure that it does not happen again. Reason why you had failed. Where you failed would have been acceptable, but the very word were grammatically not acceptable. Question number 8. These hand woven shawls are much in demand in many European countries. This is based on a standard phrase. If you know the phrase, easy to answer. If you're not aware of the phrase, not easy to answer. So, what does it mean, that expression? Tamil Vannan. Surprised? These hand woven shawls are much in demand in many European countries. Were much demand not correct? Are lots of demand not correct? Demanded shawls demanded much not correct? Will be lot of demand not correct? So, what is the answer? No correction required. Very good. Who is this? Sai Kumar, first one to respond. And that is correct. As I said, this is based on a particular phrase. Something is much in demand. So we use it's a standard phrase. Based on that, no correction required. Answer is the fifth option. I appreciate all those students. Flabbergasted. Okay. It happens sometimes. In spite of trying his best, you have to recollect the rule. Common error, people write in spite of as two words, that is not correct. In spite of, three separate words. And we should not use a preposition of after the word despite. That's a common error. In demand, hotcakes, something sells like hotcakes. In spite of trying his best, Karthik delivered whatever he had promised. It is contrary to the idea. In spite of trying his best, you have to express the next clause should be quite opposite, contrary to what this says. Based on that, we cannot say delivered. Was unable to deliver whatever, then it is not correct. Delivered none of, could not deliver whatever he had promised. Answer is the third one. In spite of trying his best, Karthik could not deliver whatever he had promised. Contextually, grammatically perfect. Could not goes into the past. Inability. It was very hot last year that the roads used to be empty in the afternoon. Used to be, you have to recollect the function of the helping verb. It is used to express past habits. We also use would to express past habits or past habitual actions. Here it was very hot last year that. I've just explained whenever you come across so or that, you have to look for the pattern. So that and such that. It was very hot. No. It was so hot. It being so hot. No. It was so hot last year. Put it in brackets. Then what do you get? It was so hot that the roads used to be empty in the afternoon. Perfect. It had been very hot. Was much hotter. Answer is the second option, and it goes with so that. So that goes with adjectives and adverbs. Here, hot adjective. Now we have 5 questions based on scrambled sentences. Question number 11. All these practice questions put together like a mini mock, but for the passage. If I add the passage, then it's a mock test. 20 plus 10. What is the correct order? It starts with she was so happy that. Where do you find EC? EC, only one option. Let us cross check. She was so happy. She was so happy that she bought flowers for her friend. Answer is the fourth option. No, no, no. Answer is the fourth option. How come the first option? AD. She bought flowers for her friend. So happy that. No, no. She was. How can you end with she was? It cannot be the first one. Answer is the fourth option. People attended. It has to start with there were the meeting that no seats available. So many people attended. It should be that way. So many people attended what? The meeting that there were no seats available. Where do you find EAC? First option. So many people attended the meeting that there were no seats available. Obviously, answer is the first one. I'm giving you guys time. No, no, it is the first one. Customers who visit want to know nowadays banks. So when you read the parts, you should be able to make out the mandatory pair one thing, but overall what it is about. Nowadays, banks want to know. That means CB. How many options with CB? CB. Here there are two, but it has to start with CB. Start with C. Nowadays, banks want to know everything about customers who visit their branches. You don't have to check the fourth one. Answer is the first one. Please mention the question number, otherwise it results in confusion. Obviously, answer is the first one. Customers who visit, you cannot start with that. Nowadays, banks want to know something. What do they want to know? Everything about customers who visit their branches. Perfect. Wait for them before we should make this decision to explain. It has to start with we should wait for them. How many options begin with CA? Only one option. That should be the answer, but let us cross check. Mandatory pair. We should wait for them to explain. Wait for them for what? To explain before we make this decision. 14 is not the fourth option. 14, second option. We should wait for them to explain before we make this decision. Answer is the second option. Question number 15. I small letter. There is an error in this, but still you can get the correct order. One should plan well in advance before buying a house. Easy one. But how many options begin with A? Three options. Ruled out, ruled out. Mandatory pair. One should plan well in advance. So A, E, B, where do you find? There are two options. One should plan well in advance. Then is it before buying a house or a house before buying? No, it should be one should plan well in advance before buying a house. Answer is the fifth option. Before buying a house. That is the answer. Now we have last 5 questions based on idioms, but a different pattern, not matching. Options, you have to choose the correct option. The lawyer's closing arguments were full of red herrings. An important one. Red herrings means what? The lawyer's closing arguments were full of red herrings. No one has responded. Here, what is the idiom? Full of red herrings. Very good. Answer is the third option. Clues intended to distract or mislead. Answer is the third option. Very good. I appreciate all those students. With great difficulty, he was able to carve out a niche for himself. If I put a star mark, it's an important one. They have given many a time. With great difficulty, he was able to carve out a niche for himself. What is the idiom over here? Carve out a niche. Question number 17. Became a sculptor, did the best he could do, destroyed his career, developed a specific position for himself in a particular field. Good. You will succeed if you follow my advice to the letter. What is the answer? Question number 18. You will succeed if you follow my advice. Noun, SE, verb that you have to recollect. To the letter. Follow to the letter. What does it mean? About writing letters. Written in the letters very thoughtfully. In every detail. Answer is the third option. A rule of the thumb. This is an important one. He always follows a rule of the thumb. He takes the decisions based on the rule of the thumb. Typical examples. A rough unit of measure for small lengths? No. A broadly accurate guide based on practice. To force someone to work against his wish. To use your power to ensure discipline. It means you take decisions based on experience gained through practice, based on your experience. A broadly accurate guide based on practice or based on experience. No, 19 answer is the second option, not the fourth option. Second option, rule of the thumb, based on practice and based on experience, you can say. Where discipline is concerned, I put my foot down. Put your foot down. What does it mean? Take a firm stand, take a light stand, take a heavy stand, take a shaky stand. So, what is the answer over here? Take a firm stand, neither light nor heavy. It is firm, being firm. First one, that's right. Now, let us go to enrich your word power based on today's editorial vocabulary. Try to respond quickly. What time is it? Oh, we still have 6 minutes. We can manage. Remission, obviously part of speech, noun. What does it mean? Cancellation of a charge or penalty or a debt. But in this context, punishment or charge or penalty. Answer is B. Convict, here it is a noun. Person found guilty of crime. Please write the part of speech that helps in the long run. Exactly. Heinous crime, heinous murder. Obviously, it is adjective. Wrongful act or crime, utterly wicked. Answer is something very bad. Usually it goes with crime. Pogrom, part of speech, noun. Act of killing or killing done to a large group of people based on a particular race or community. Either harm or killing. Only killing, we use the word genocide. That's an important word. Defy, It's a verb. Defy someone, defy something. Yes. Odious, also adjective. Challenge. Defy means what? Challenge or oppose. Oh, you guys are still with the fourth one. I have gone to the fifth one. Defy. Yes, very good. Waiver, noun. Waive off, verb. Decision that a rule doesn't have to be obeyed. You don't have to obey a rule, then it is called waiving off. Answer is C. Something is mandatory. Mandatory, part of speech, adjective. Compulsory, E. Concurrence has two or three meanings. One meaning happening at the same time or occurring at the same time. The other meaning, agreement. In this context, it is agreement, not consistency, agreement. Answer is noun J. Rigor, rigor also noun, rigorous adjective. Quality of being extremely thorough. It goes with law, punishment, training, rigorous training, rigors of law. Answer is G. Clemency, part of speech, noun, mercy, mercy, clemency. Now, revision editorial vocabulary, the words you got yesterday on 16th of this month. Try to respond quickly. If at least one student responds, then I'll tick that one and I'll go to the next one. Approbation, an important word. You come across more or less the same words in the exam, especially bank exams, SSC as well. So, what does it mean? Approval, praise, very good. Stately, stately appearance, stately red fort means what? Praise, approval, yes. What does it mean? Stately, impressive, grand, very good. It goes with monuments, huge in size. Pressing needs, pressing problems, pressing issues, urgent, wonderful. Scanty, scantily dressed. Resources are scanty. What does it mean? Inadequate, insufficient, not sufficient. Very good. Tugging, tug, not fight. To pull something hard, pull or drag something. Very good. Pull something hard or suddenly, but suddenly not important, with great difficulty. Insight, I use regularly. What does it mean? Insight. Insight means deep understanding of something, ability to understand something deeply. Pernicious, harmful. Very good. Within no time. Pernicious means what? Harmful. Dwell could be a verb, could be a noun. Dwelling, noun form. And dwell means what? To direct your attention towards something or to think of something, to focus on something. Obstacles, harmful, yes, exactly. Obstacle, hurdle, impediment. Deleterious means dangerous. Harmful, dangerous, deleterious. What is no one has responded for the word obstacles. Hindrances or impediments, blocks. Egalitarian society, an important word. Egalitarian means what? It's a belief that all people are equal and all people deserve equal rights. All people are equal, all people deserve equal rights. Egalitarian society. So that's all about today's editorial and practice questions based on exam topics. Hope you guys have got enriched. Have a nice day. Do remember to subscribe and share. Download the app, the link has been provided. And also join the Telegram group, the link has been provided.